see. Live. Never mind. There we go. That's maybe. I still haven't come up with a name. But today we're going to be talking about something that I find always Last of Us in general. A few there was a interview, not necessarily, no, I wouldn't say interview, more like a documentary about Grounded received an alternative to the game for the ending, and it was obviously a joke. It was like a musical instead of an actual game. It was a musical, and that's pretty much the only thing we got concerning the alternative. That's the only thing really. But I don't think Naughty Dog's ever really had this happen in a game for them before. So I think this might actually be kind of rare for them. Just trying to get in the mindset of The Last of Us Part 2, because Part 2 is obviously their greatest game they've ever made. I wouldn't say theatest. Some people would disagree with me, but I think it's one of the greatest games they've made. I think it's the most anticipated games. It's their most divided and controversial game they've ever created. That is just fact, obviously. More controversial and dividing than anything. But this is obviously one of their greatest works. When people are going to think of The Last of Us Part 2, they're going to think of Naughty Dog, and they're going to remember the emotions that it made them feel, even the dark ones and the hateful ones. And then there's going to be ones where, the happiness you may have with it, or you may even see the happiness in the game, and you just look at it like, man, that's sad. It's even more depressing, So yeah, and I'm simply just trying to get into the mind of them, when they decided to go with another ending, because I think a couple of days ago we received some information. I don't think it was a couple of days ago. I think it's been out there for a while, at least. I can't really remember, but there was some information about The Last of Us Part 2 and about the ending in its own official podcast, where they started talking about, just things about the game, some emotional scenes, the hate, everything like that, all the comments and everything, and they just talked about a variety of topics in this podcast concerning the game, and and it's very interesting to listen to what they have to say, because once again, not a long time about this game, you really didn't know much about it. And I mean, I can't really blame them, because there's not much that happens in this game. The entire game takes course over I think a year. Majority of the game, it's actually surrounded 3 days from 2 different perspectives. That's it. It's the majority of the game. The majority of the game setting takes place in 3 days. It's all about that. A 20-hour game is the majority of it is surrounding 3 days. Ellie's view and Abby's view. That's it. And this is obviously something that interests me, because it makes you wonder, where would the game go? And for the ending of the game is that Ellie actually kills Abby at the end. Now, the reason they decided not to go down that road, because that was the original intent. That was how the game was originally supposed to end, with Ellie killing Abby, when she was at the end of it, when she was practically about to drown her. Um, she was supposed to die that way, which would have many disastrous things happen to all the characters. Um, One, Ellie practically will lose her humanity. Um, I mean, think about it. Uh, there's barely any humanity left in her. The only humanity that's really left in her is that small part of who she was in the first game. Because you look at Ellie in the first game, in the second game, there's a big giant difference. She's really gone in a deep hole in the second game. Especially when that person dies, she immediately goes berserk, and she kind of gets she gets taken away by an obsession, and that obsession of vengeance is very it takes over her life, and it takes away practically inch by inch, ounce by ounce, foot by foot of her humanity. And by the end of the game, she practically has none. She practically has none. And the only way that we really can say about Ellie letting her go is that she remembered. I'm not gonna say who she was as a kid. Maybe that is the case. Maybe she thought about who she was with Joel and how far she's really fallen from who she was, or maybe she realized that it's not going to do anything. That this vengeance thing has not turned out well for her. And it's just one of those. It's an ending where you don't really know what to say, because you don't know the character's thinking. You don't know why she stopped doing it. The only reason she stopped doing it, and the only implication we have is when there's a flashback of Joel on the porch. So, and so it's like thinking she's probably thought about Joel at the ending moment, knowing that it wasn't going to do anything. And if she did kill her, it would just make her feel worse. She'd be more empty, you know. But once again, she probably wouldn't feel a thing since her humanity wouldn't have been taken away. I myself don't believe that your humanity can be completely and utterly erased. I think there's a part of us that is just our conscience can be seared, like being like clothes being hot ironed. But I don't think it can ever just be completely dead. I think it can be very numb, very even paralyzed even. But it's never really dead. It's never really gone. It's still there, And so I think even if Ellie killed Abby, I think she would just became more cold, more hateful. Maybe she probably would have lost herself, or even worse. Maybe she'd gone to the. So many things that could happen in this game if she did go down that path. And I'm glad that they did, because it opens up it opens up more paths for the last of the series to take. Abby lived, and because Abby lived, Lev is not alone. And Lev was, I think Lev's about, I think he's, oh no, sorry, goodness, he is younger than Ellie was in the first game, and maybe it's a great thing for her to live, so that Lev wouldn't be alone. There are so many things that I can talk about in this, because this isn't some catching the news and coverage for The Last of Us Part 2. It's me seeing things and sharing my thoughts. The only thing you're really going to get out of this is to hear what I have to say. I might give you a better insight or something like that. But I myself, would I want an ending like that? No. I really liked the ending to The Last of Us Part 2. Many people didn't like it. And the reason that I didn't, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, how realistic is this? What is the story? What is the message of what they're trying to give off? If they're going to kill Abby, what they're going to do is just say it's okay to kill those people and then be fine. That's not reality. You want to make something authentic as it can. You don't want to make it, just something people play. You want to make it authentic. You want to make it real. You don't want to make it. It isn't just something you play. It's a. You're watching something. You're playing something. You're into something. You should have some type of I can't really say the word authenticity. I tried to say it. I butchered it, but you have to make it connect to them in a very personal and realistic level. If you don't do that, we're just really not even gaining anything from it. We're just watching a bunch of murder and killing for no reason. Now, some people say, well, there's nothing wrong with that. To me, in a video game as such as this one, where narrative story is very important, it is essential to the game. I'll play the encounters from time to time, and I'll play the encounters almost all the time. I haven't been able to play The Last of Us Part 2 story completely. And I mean by completely, I played the game through, but I skip cutscenes. There's certain cutscenes that I can't watch. It breaks my heart too much, and I can't. And trust me, guys, this game is very traumatic for me. Okay, it's not easy for me to deal with, and that's why I can't do this stuff. But nonetheless, I like the storyline better. It was a very, very good ending because Ellie finally had a rest in her heart. She didn't have this hateful, filled with rage and no purpose at all. I mean, she had a lot of demons at the end of the first game. And it seems like at the end of the second game, she finally took the first step into defeating those demons. And let me tell you right now, the demons that she had in the first game, when it ended, it only grew larger when she went on her vengeance mission. It just grew worse. So it's, she didn't feel like she had a purpose. And everything. She literally was just dealing with one problem after another. And I feel like finally, after the second game ended, it's like, you know what? She's let go. Or maybe not let go, but she is starting to heal. She's starting to realize, she's starting to accept everything. We see that Joel was not a guy who really regretted anything he did. He didn't regret saving her. He even said at the end of the game that he would do it all over again. Everything all over again. If it was going to save her and give her a life, he would do it again. And that didn't just say, oh, well, I'm going to kill everybody, but even him dying. If you would have asked Joel, would you die for her to, just for this? He would probably say yes. He would probably say yes in the most brutal way possible. Even in such a way like that, So it's very, 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 it's very, yeah, it's just one of those things, guys. It's one of those things where you just got to really think about it. And my thoughts on it, and I like to expand on my thoughts. Sometimes I just ramble, and that's kind of what I've done. And if you've been listening to me for a little bit, you're going to realize that I go on one topic, then I forget what my thought was, then I try to go on another way and another road, because none of this stuff is really scripted. It's just I just talk, and sometimes I regret it, and that's probably why so many people may not like it, because I just ramble about incoherently about certain things, and sometimes I go off topic, I go on a detour, and I forget to come back to it, and makes no connection with all the other things I talked about. So, but my thoughts on this simply is I'm glad they didn't go with it. I'm glad Haley, I can't remember her last name, but Haley, it was Haley Gross, I think. I can't remember. But I'm glad that she brought up the idea. Again, I really think that would put a seal on Ellie, because there's really no one else that had a bigger impact than Joel did in her life. And I don't think that could ever really happen again to her. And if she killed Abby, there was no return for her. She would have crossed the line. And if that was the case, we probably would have a different Ellie. She'd probably just go crazy. Because doing something like this, killing someone you hate, it does something to you, to who you are. It's really bad, and I think that Naughty Dog was very realistic and authentic when they made that choice. Because we see a bunch of stuff like The Punisher, stuff like that. These revenge movies, and it's like they'll go out and they'll just kill people, you know. But even in this TV show, The Punisher, I've watched that a lot of times. Even he said, even Frank Castle would say, when someone asked him in season 2 of The Punisher, I think it was her that I think it was the kid that asked him, does it help? And he looked at her and he says, sometimes, meaning it doesn't help him it doesn't help him all the time. I would argue he would even say most of the time it doesn't help. And I thought that was authentic, you know. Even all the murder and killing he's done, especially to people that were, you know, gangsters and drug dealers and murderers and et cetera, even though they may have all deserved it, it didn't do anything. There were days where he was happy they did. There's probably, I would even say, like I said, I would believe that even most days he was like, it didn't change anything. Really, it didn't change anything. So they made it very authentic. That's my thought. That's right. I'm glad they went with her with Ellie not killing Abby, because it would have done something to Ellie, and she would cross a line where she couldn't come back from, and there would be so many catastrophic things happen in this game if that was the case. And once again, many people, when you give your review of the game, you cannot have your emotions in this game. That's the one thing you cannot have when making a review of this game. Your emotions cannot be here. And I know that sounds very, very, very stupid and weird and just not fair even. That you're going to have your emotions in this game either way. Like, I don't like how Joel died. I hated it. But I realized I have a different perspective of The Last of Us Part 2, which I can think about it in a way where it's not as painful as it used to be, you know. And some days I still can't believe this game came out. I mean, like, I thought this game would be like, you know, I thought I'd be still playing this game, you know. You know, this game would take like 40 hours to beat, you know. And like it just really took me like 2 days to beat it, you know. So, you know, I know I say you know a lot. Forgive me about that. But yeah, that's it. That's my thoughts on this entire dark alternative to the game. I think it was fine. I don't want a darker alternative, something that will do worse to the character. And I hope that once again, I hope we get a part 3. I don't really want it to be about Abby. I more likely want it to be about Tommy. I know Tommy's not in the best shape. Abby literally did something to his eye, like shot him in the head, but it went through his eye, I think. And then before she did that, she kicked his leg and broke his knee, I think. You know, or broke his leg, dude. It was terrible, man. And so he's like not in the best place, and he's old man too, so you know, he's not these, you know. But I still think that he would do good. I think he's just as old as Joel as he was in the first game, maybe. I don't know. But I would love to see that. You know, I would love to see Tommy in the third game as the main character. But once again, they would have to be authentic with it. It's very possible their next game could be part 3 of The Last of Us, because I don't really see any other games they're working on. Uncharted's kind of done. You know, I don't think they're going to be working on Uncharted anymore. Until they like tell us that the Last of Us series is gone and it's done with, I'm still going to stick with this. I'm still going to support Naughty Dog when it comes down to The Last of Us. I'm still going to support them. Single player, DLC, multiplayer, whatever it may be, I'm going to support it. I'm going to give my thoughts on it. I may not like it, but I will respect it as The Last of Us, part of The Last of Us world, and I cannot wait for the HBO series, what they're going to do with that. I really am intrigued into what they're going to do with this. So, there's really nothing else I can really state about the alternative ending. It's all that I wanted was a game like this, but it was different in the way that I thought it was going to be. and the ending, it was just, I didn't know it was going to end that way. You know, it was so, the game was just really good, and the point where it really hits you in the chest really hard if you were a fan of this game as long as I have, and how passionate and how much in love I was with this game. And so, as I was also when I was watching the interview when Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson and even Neil Druckmann were talking about Joel's death in the game, you could tell that these guys cared about the characters. Even Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson were like crying by the end of it. They were trying to keep themselves together. And I think what many people are missing here is they think that Neil Druckmann does not love these characters. I would just say this, that no one loves these characters more than they do. Even Ashley even stated that in the interview. She stated that there is no one that loves these more characters than the three of us who are here. And there was the interviewer, and there was Neil, Ashley, and Troy. That's it. And I believe that. I can, as a creator of many characters, because I'm writing a novel right now, I understand no one is going to love these characters more than the creators themselves. And that's it. Do we all love these characters? Yes, but we don't love them as much as they might. So we don't know what's next. I'm obviously going to be playing this game, guys. I've been waiting this game for a long time. I have been passionate about this game for a long time. I'm going to play it. I told you guys before, even if it's bad or good, I'm going to play it. It's The Last of Us. And, you know. Once again, this is just one topic. Whenever we have more topics, I'll address them. I'm also going to be releasing sometime a compilation of the Last of Us Part 2 Combat. I'm going to probably be doing that for a little bit, you know. So expect some videos like that in the future. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. And if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing. And I'll see you guys in the next one.